You're going to get a little charge out of the screen here for hour two. Let's bring him in. Ryan Thelwell joins us. My mind is jumping all over the place here. And if you're just tuning in on Game Plus Television, maybe you're just listening to the podcast right now, I'm going to go through Ryan Thelwell's very impressive resume. It won't take long, but played at Minnesota University, drafted by the 49ers, played in the NFL with the Chargers, spent time with the Jaguars, Steelers, and then into the CFL. 7 seasons with the BC Lions, 4 with the Calgary Stampeders, and then back with the BC Lions. You would think we wouldn't get along. And we're breaking there he is. And here we are telling old CFL stories right now. 3-time Grey Cup champion, 2-time divisional all-star. This is a Hall of Fame resume. Why are we not talking about Ryan Thelwell? And you heard what I was saying, that Eddie Steele's going to come on and talk about Michael Riley. And I love the Hall of Fame debate, Ryan Thelwell.
Yep.
Where do you stand on Michael Riley for the CFL, Canadian Football Hall of Fame?
Mike, it's not a question to me. Not a question of if, it's a matter of when.
When, yeah.
I've always been a big fan of Mike Riley, his game, his leadership. Like I remember when I went back to BC after coming out of retirement, and Mike Riley was actually the backup quarterback.
Right.
And so I'd be running scout team with Mike. And even then, in that situation, you could see that it was only a matter of time before he had his turn. And honestly, when he took off and he did what he did, I was not surprised. Just an amazing person, amazing ambassador for the game. And first, again, only a matter of when.
Let's put him in.
Yep.
Let's put him in.
Yep.
So here's one, and I'll pull that mic right up to you, Ryan, if you don't mind. You mentioned joining the 2011 Lions. You got to tell me when you joined them, because as you probably know, Tad Cornegay, a very close friend of mine, Arlen Bruce has become a close friend of mine, and they both say it's because of them. 1-5 start. Wally brings those guys in.
Yep.
Go on to win it's a fabled team.
Yep.
Any team that sucks out of the gate, they're like, now it's the 2011 Lions. They came back from 1-5.
Yep.
When did you join that team?
So I don't know the exact date. There must have been probably about 6-7 games left in the season. And it's a funny story. So I was actually coaching with the Calgary Colts junior football team. And we had just lost the game to the Saskatoon Hilltops. And we're driving back, and I'm with Tom Frizani.
Yep.
I'm driving in the back. And
Four-check legend.
Yep. Oh, absolutely amazing man.
Yeah.
And, I'm not in the best of moods. We got our butts handed to us, and my phone kept going off. But finally I answered it, and it was my wife. And she says, hey, G-Roy's trying to get in touch with you. I think that BC wants you to come back to play, so you should give him a call. So I give G a call, and he says, hey, like Ryan, this is what's going on. Wally's probably going to call you. Just tell him you're in the best shape of your life. And I hadn't done anything up to that point.
You're still
right?
a cheetah, though, man. You're still in great shape.
And so sure enough, probably 20 minutes later, I got a call from Wally, and he explained the situation. And, I'm bullshit. Like, oh, Wally, I'm in the best shape of my life. I've been running and keeping in shape. And then it was just a matter of, for me, it wasn't a question of, I bleed, orange. BC Lions, that's kind of where I started. Loved Wally, loved the organization. So it was just a matter of being able to make it work with the company that I was working with at the time. Because that's a big ask. Like, hey, can I get away here for a month?
What were you doing?
So at that time, I was working with a company called Canadian Chemical Technology. So I was doing sales in oil and gas. So funny enough, I went in the next day to talk to my boss, and she says, are you kidding? Like, yeah, you have a job when you get back. I thought you were going to quit. Like, this is awesome. We'll even come to the Grey Cup if you guys make it, right? So, so in 2 days after that conversation, I was off and I was in BC.
Rest is his ring. That was an amazing Grey Cup. Because Paul LaPolice is a really good friend of mine. You guys played Winnipeg. And
yes.
I remember saying, this is going to be the biggest speed bagging Grey Cup since 97, and it was. What do you remember about that game?
It went as I expected. Like, the BC Lions team, absolutely amazing. The talent that they had on the team, absolutely amazing. It's tough. It would have been tough to beat that team if it was in a neutral location and you got them at home. You know what? The Winnipeg team was absolutely amazing, but the game itself, they had such a veteran latent group. They were so relaxed. That's just what I remember. It was such a relaxing week leading up to the game. I remember the stomach flu kind of hit. I know it hit myself and a couple of close family members, and so after the game was a bit of a letdown for me because I pretty much
couldn't party.
Yeah, that was it, right? Like you don't get to celebrate that so very often, and so getting hit with the stomach bug, and I didn't do anything. Pretty much was in bed pretty much right after the game. So.
Well, your time in the CFL pretty much coincided with my time in the CFL, and I just remember filling out my rosters before every game going, this guy's non-import, but I don't think he's Canadian. So you got to tell me when you discovered that you had non-import status.
I just figured it was just a part of, because we moved from Jamaica when I was a kid. I was basically 3 years old, right? And we were Canadian citizens right away.
Moved to where?
London, Ontario.
Okay.
So I grew up in London, Ontario. University of Western, Greg Marshall. Greg Marshall was my high school coach, right? So for me, it was never a question of, like, I was told that there was a good chance I was going to get drafted in the CFL draft. It just happened to be, I got drafted into the NFL. Got drafted. It wasn't a big deal back. When I say big deal, in the media, like my dad was the one that called me to say, "Hey, BC Lions drafted you." Like it wasn't, broadcasted on TSN, and I was actually I was in San Francisco at the time, right? So, to me, I just always thought, yeah, I'm a Canadian. Like it's not
right.
Didn't even
wasn't a big deal. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Lions, you were drafted in '98 by San Fran.
Correct.
What year did you go? Oh, here it is. CFL draft 1998. Same year.
Yes.
Second round, 9th pick. Who was running the Lions? It was Barato there?
Steve Barato.
Yeah.
I think Adam Rita.
Good group.
Was there. Yep. Great group. They had, so I didn't get there until 2001. So they had just won the Grey Cup, I believe, against,
I wasn't at that one. It was here. Right?
Calgary.
Yeah.
Montreal, I believe.
I guess. I
believe.
Let me look it up.
Right. So I pretty much walked right into that. Damon Allen, that group, Alfred Jackson. So it was a good thing for me because, it was just a good group of guys that we had on that team, and it just made that transition easy.
You know what's funny? You asked before we went on the air if I still talk to guys from the old days. I spent a half an hour on the phone with David Benefield this week. Mr. Furious.
Yes,
he's going to be in Los Angeles for Super Bowl. And he's like, you know how he talks. Yep. Rod, dude.
He's a surfer boy. He speaks just like it. Yeah.
He's like, if you're in LA, I'm coming down, just like you have today. And I really appreciate you doing that.
No problem.
But Benefield, man, those were the days.
Yep.
Man, he must have been one of the most ferocious defenders you've seen, CFL or NFL.
Yes.
He was a beast.
He was a monster.
Yeah.
And he was intimidating. You would look at him, he'd have his face painted. And the thing is, the nicest guy off the field. It was like that switch flipped, right? So, yeah, he was a good man. I really enjoyed playing with him.
Yeah, no kidding. So 3 Grey Cups wins, 94th, 96th, and 99th. You ever get asked the dumbest question of all time, which one you love the most?
Yeah, I get that all the time.
What do you say?
They're all the same to me.
Yeah.
It's tough to come by. Like you would think with a 9-team league, like it would be easy to come by.
Yeah.
It's not. Right? It's each one was different in their own way. Amazing teammates. Just with a league with such history, to me, they all have a special meaning in their own way. But I just feel like I'm very blessed. I'm one of very few that have had an opportunity to actually hold that Grey Cup and have it at home and have my name on it. So special.
2006 with BC.
Yes.
When Kelly Bates broke the trophy.
Yes. Oh, yes.
2008 with Calgary.
Correct.
In Montreal.
Correct.
Had to be a very special win. And then we talked about 2011. Tell me about the Montreal game, because you talk about home team Grey Cups. You're going in there as the road team.
Yes.
With Henry Burris. and these Stampeders facing Mark Trestman's Alouettes. What was that game like? Did you feel like the villain in that?
Yes, a little bit, but we did not. That team did not lack confidence at all. We had a great group of guys. We had a great leader in Coach Huffnagel. I'm sure you've seen the speech that.
We got him right where we want him. Yeah. They still talk about that speech.
To me, one of the best speeches.
Yeah,
I've heard. We were already fired up. It's a Grey Cup, but that just took it to another level. And during that season we played Montreal tough, even when we played them in Montreal. So, fans, noise, that wasn't a big deal. Heck, we played you guys enough, so the noise wasn't going to be an issue, right? We're used to Saskatchewan, so it was. We knew we were going to win going into that game.
Yeah, it's 11-11 Mountain, by the way. I just wanted to point out to everybody. The opportunity portal is opening. Yeah, my cousin Christine is watching in Medicine Hat, and she says, good things happen to good people with regards to your 3 Grey Cup. Janice Owen, she's a Stamps fan living in Edmonton. She says, 2011 BC Lions, proof that Wally is the godfather of the CFL, putting together a team for all time. Was there for the Grey Cup, a game and season to remember. # Stamps fan in Edmonton. She's a Stamps fan, saying that was not just the game, the week was amazing. It was nice weather. It was everything that you want for a Grey Cup. Jeff, the Stamps fan watching, says BC won the Cup in 2000 versus Montreal at McMahon Stadium, and Steve Barato was the coach. But you dropped the funniest bomb of all. It was what your dad told you when you retired. Because here's the thing, folks. Early 2000s, the first half of the decade, Riders Lions was hate.
Yeah.
It was hate. Roy Shivers going against Carl Kidd, blah, blah, all this stuff. And then it became Riders Stamps. Probably was even hotter than the Riders and Lions. And you're in the middle of it.
I've been a part of both. Yeah.
And me too. It was so much fun.
I loved it. Yep.
That's what you want. Tell me what happened when you retired.
So retired. My dad's a big football fan, and with me being in the league, he was always following what I did and cheering for whatever team I was playing for. But the day I retired, he came out and told me that he was a Riders fan. Roy Shivers. Yeah.
Go ahead.
He was a closet Riders fan, and you know what? I can't blame him. I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. Because whenever we would play, he would, of course, let's go Stamps, let's go Lions. But, hey, did you see the Riders game the other day?
Come on.
Yeah, so.
I shouldn't have to tell our viewers, but some may not know that Roy Shivers and Danny Bear were the first African-American coach and GM tandem in pro football history. And I think they did gain a lot of fans for that.
Yep.
They made the Riders cool again. Now, I got to ask you, with your non-import status and your talent, Roy would have been knocking on your door, I would think, somewhere along the line.
You know what? I never spoke with Shiv. No, I
never had a contract of it, really.
No, but I loved what he did. I thought he was brilliant. People that have dealt with him spoke highly of him and speak highly of him to this day. Right. So if he had, I definitely would have considered.
Right.
Because I heard he was just an amazing person to play for.
Everybody loved him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Canadian wide receivers were more rare than they are now.
Yep.
And so I'm just saying, would fetch some dough, right? So, and I know Roy was not averse to tampering a little bit too. Ryan H. in Winnipeg's watching. He says, what do you think, Rod and Ryan? Could you see Brandon Banks as a Blue Bomber? Spicy. I could see Speedy B with any team in the CFL. What do you think about him saying, I'm done in Hamilton?
I was surprised.
Yeah.
Because he's done so much for that city and that organization, but it happens. I've seen it happen to guys like amazing G-Roy going to Saskatchewan, Nik going to Montreal. This is a part of the game. I personally think that he's still got some gas left in the tank, and he would help out any team that would take him. So I hope him leaving Hamilton doesn't mean he's not planning on playing again, because he's such a talented player.
Did you heard what I said about the Omar Morgan comparison?
Yes.
That's the first thing I thought.
Yeah.
Was he just doesn't think he'll ever win in Hamilton. Omar thought that.
Yep.
Would you think this would be a potential of why he did it, or why do you think he did it?
You know what? That's a good question. I don't know. But if that's the case, like Hamilton's not that far off.
Right.
Right. Just a few changes here or there, and it could get him over the top. Like the Grey Cup came down to the last minute, so they're not that far off. So I can't see that being the issue.
Good point. Who knows? And I don't know if you'll ever say.
Yeah.
But like when you say, Omar keeps ringing in my mind because 2006 West final, Paul McCallum misses a field goal. You were there.
Yep.
We weren't far off either.
Yep.
Right? So Omar was the beneficiary of bad timing when he left. By the way, we got about a minute. Tell me what you remember about that game when we were in overtime. And Duncan O'Mahony, I think, was kicking for you guys.
Yes.
What do you remember?
That was the 2004 West Finals. First off, most amazing game, college, NFL, CFL that I've ever been a part of.
There's 55,000 people there.
Atmosphere was absolutely amazing. The back and forth was absolutely amazing. And from what I remember was thinking to myself, and I honestly did not blink when we had to drive the field to kick that field goal. We had been doing it all year, and we had a great group of guys, a talented team, and we just had such confidence. And and Duncan stepped up, and I've watched that 1,000 times, and he almost hesitated before he stepped into the kick, and it just barely made it over. And I don't know, it's just the stars were aligned perfectly for that.
Of course, but it seems like, does 53 yards sound right? Was it that long?
Yeah, it was in and around that range. Yeah.
And I got my years wrong. You don't have CTE. I do. Because McCallum was with you guys in 06.
Yes, correct.
So he missed in 04 and then goes on and wins with you. From our viewers, Ryan in Winnipeg says, Ryan Thelwell is a great interview. Loving the show today. Me too. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And I got it before we get into the NFL analysis, and I always have tough times with my headphones here. You got a hell of a story here about Nik Lewis.
Oh, Nik. Yeah.
And Cope for that matter, but tell the viewers if you don't mind.
Oh, gosh. So the one thing I love about the CFL is the people you meet along the way. And
of course.
So in 2006, I was just coming towards my last year with the BC Lions. I was going into free agency. And so when that process began, there were a few teams that were interested. So, and of course, being from Ontario, it was Toronto, Hamilton, and Calgary was probably the lead. Like they were the most aggressive with regards to me coming on board. And so you're trying to weigh your options. You try to take, the good, the bad, and one of the things that I had on my negative list was I couldn't stand, and I didn't know them. I just played against them. I did not like Nik Lewis, and I did not like Jermaine Cope. I did not like them.
How about that?
But so I ended up signing in Calgary. And so my first day here is before training camp, and we're out. Henry and Nick and Cope and Kenyon, and we're just throwing the ball around, and never questioned his talent. I thought he was an awesome player. I just didn't like him. And so I'm watching him. He's catching balls between his legs, like just amazing catches, like stuff you see Beckham doing today. Nick was doing that back in the day. So later on that night, we had a charity event that we were attending. It was Henry Burris's big brothers, big sisters, and I'm out with Nick, and I had the best time ever. Like I remember getting home that night and telling my wife, like, honestly, like maybe I was wrong. Like the perception of who this guy is completely different from what you see on TV to when you actually spend time with him personally. And I remember talking to G-Roy and saying, like, gee, like this guy's actually pretty cool. So my wife and I got married in 2009. We were together way before that, but we didn't end up getting married in 2009. Well, guess who stood up for me as my best man? Nik Lewis.
Nick.
Yeah. And so to this day, like Nick is my guy. Like we his wife, his kids, whenever he comes to town, he visits the family, and it's just an amazing man. I love him. Like he's a brother, right? So, I actually talked to him before I came on. He told me to tell you hello. And
yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Wonderful guy.
Yeah.
And to be honest, speaking of wonderful guys, I promise we'll get to the NFL Conference Championships. The guy's NFL alum. I want to get his take. But when G-Roy Simon it was announced he's going to Edmonton,
Yep.
it shocked a lot of people. It didn't shock me, other than to say that Chris Jones and Geroy Simon had never been on the same team before.
Yep.
So I asked them both about that, and they explained why. And Geroy explained that to you too?
Yeah.
You talked about that with him?
I wasn't surprised at all. I felt like Geroy had paid his dues, his dues. He's one of the smartest guys that I know. He's ready. And he would talk about, spending time with Chris Jones on the road, and they of course knew each other through the league, but he was always a big fan of Coach Jones and his do whatever it takes attitude to win. And when Coach Jones approached him, he said it wasn't a question for him. It was the opportunity was absolutely amazing. And say what you want about Coach Jones. I know there are people that say negative things. Of course, good and bad with anything. I think he's an absolute amazing coach. I've always enjoyed Coach Jones, when he was here in Calgary, and I've always been a fan of him as a coach. And he's a winner, right? So to put those two together, I think it's good for Edmonton. I think it's good for the league when Edmonton's winning, right? So,
of course. So as a CFL alum, but also a receiver, I wonder what you think about a Darius Bowman signing and Manny Arsenault and Caleb Hawley, because Chris is getting scorned for that. He always is going to. This is all that I thought about it, is I know Jones well enough that he lays awake at night staring at the ceiling thinking about how to win.
Yep, exactly.
And the winners do that. These guys are a little long in the tooth, though. Like AD hasn't played for a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
3 years, I think. So what did you think about that?
I personally thought, yes, I have a chance. I'm going to give Geroy a call and Coach Jones.
How about
I'm going to start running again. And you know what? It surprised me just because of the names, right? Because there's guys that you haven't really seen in the limelight for a while. But I follow Manny on social media. He takes great care of himself. Like, you look at him, he's in amazing shape. Why not, right? You bring them in, you see how they do. They're veterans. They know the game. They know the league. To me, it doesn't hurt, right? See how it goes in training camp, and then you make a decision from there. I wasn't surprised.
I think Jones has learned his lesson in a few ways, too, that in Saskatchewan, you were following what he was doing with us. Yes. And I was with the club in 2016 when he came and went through 114 players, Ryan.
Yep.
The prior record was like 86 or something. So I think Jones learned his thing there, that young guys just take too long, right, to develop. That's what I think.
Yep. I agree, right? We're in a win now society.
Yeah. Exactly.
You got to win now, and he's going to do whatever it takes to win next year, not 2-3 years from now, right? So if that means bringing in guys that know the game, and of course he's still going to be able to play, go for it.
Mm-hmm. I promised that we would talk about the AFC NFC championship games on Sunday. You'll be watching, obviously. Ryan was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in 1998. So do you have any affinity or affection for them in that game against the Rams? What's your thoughts on the game?
I'm excited for the game. So I am an Eagles fan. They got knocked out pretty early.
Yeah.
My second team is the Tennessee Titans. They got knocked out right away.
Maybe you're the bad luck.
I think me picking a team might not be a good thing because they seem to always lose. But I'm excited for them. For that game in particular, I'd like to see San Francisco come out and go to the Super Bowl. It's going to be a good game. As long as it's a good game, that's what excites. Like, last weekend is the best weekend of football I've seen ever.
You're saying ever. Yeah, exactly.
Ever. Like, it was just absolutely amazing. If they can do that again, it's a win.
I'm dying to get your take on this. I'm a very amateur bettor. I tell people, don't take my advice on any of this.
Yeah.
But what about, like, the 49ers have beaten the Rams twice this year already.
Yes.
6 in a row overall.
Yeah.
Are you a believer in that? Because I remember arguing George Cortez, a very good friend of mine, and the year that the Stamps and Riders played 4 times, including playoffs. George is like, hard to beat a team 4 times in a row. And I'm like, I don't know. If you're a better team, it shouldn't be.
Yep.
Like, are you a believer in that stat, like the winning streaks and stuff? Or
I'm not, but it happens. Like, they have, right? Like you said, right? And I'm just a believer in whoever's better on that day. But also, there's extra I shouldn't say extra incentive because all games are big, but this is for the NFC Championship, right? They have a chance at home, win one game, and then they're playing in the Super Bowl at home. I just think it's who's better on that day, and there's different variables. It's always changing from game to game, right? So I'm not a big believer in that.
Right. I'm not either, by the way. Right. I see the numbers. I see the stats.
The numbers are there.
Right. But I got to say this. So are you picking San Fran to win, or you just want them to? You're picking them to win.
I am. I'm picking them to win.
Can you imagine the pressure on the Rams to play in that stadium in their own town? Like, nobody's really talked about that. In the CFL, we talk about it all the time. And you won a Grey Cup in Vancouver in 2011.
Yes.
Was there a sense of pressure on that team?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's interesting. In it happened in 2005. The Grey Cup was in BC. We had finished first, and we ended up playing Edmonton at home in the West semis, and we lost. Pressure it's there. Like, you look at last weekend, the home teams that lost. There is that extra pressure that added. You can't tell me that the Rams don't feel it. Like, they've got, again, win 2 games at home to be Super Bowl champions.
That's why I find it odd, because I watch all the coverage, read everything. I don't see it being talked about. And I'm like, why are we not talking about this? Yeah. It has to be there. Now, on the flip side, the AFC Championship game, Cincinnati's at Kansas City. We had our good friend Mo Egger on from ESPN Cincinnati the other day, and he said the Bengals are playing with house money. And I'm like, well, that's a dangerous way.
Yeah.
That can't leak into their thinking, or they're going to get their butts kicked in KC.
I agree. KC's just that good.
Yeah.
Like they've been playing good ball. They've found ways to win. But I just kind of feel like Kansas City's another beast within itself, right? That house money mentality, I don't think it's going to work if that's their mentality going in.
It's okay for the fans. Yep. For the fans to think that. The team can't think that.
Yeah.
Did we lose the feed on Ryan, guys? Oh, Eddie did. Okay. So what do you need me to do here? Are we good? You'll get Ryan. Eddie Steele logged in early and knocked you off the air. So, but we can still hear you, Ryan. So that's the main thing.
Okay,
so
perfect. In
the Kansas City Cincinnati game, so you're obviously taking the Chiefs to win just because they're much better.
Yeah. So I want Cincinnati to win, but I feel that KC's just too strong. So yeah, Kansas City's going to win.
Do you think that Cincinnati is a team on the rise or a flash in the pan?
Definitely a team on the rise. So much talent on the offensive side, and they're playing good ball on the defensive side. And I'm happy for the city of Cincinnati. Like, it's been so long that they've had just optimism and with the core group of young guys, and that's the term young. I think that the future is great for them.
What is your conference final Sunday schedule going to be like? What are you going to do? Take me through the day.
Oh, gosh. So the thing is, when you have 4 kids, you have a pretty tough schedule. So my wife says I can only watch one game. I can't spend the entire day watching football. I got to pick and choose. So
Niners, Rams.
So I think it's going to be the Niners Rams game. That's going to be the game that I'm going to watch.
Yeah, good for you. Well, Ryan, appreciate you coming down. We're going to move Eddie Steele in here next, but we're going to be here a lot, so you got an open invitation. I know the casino's very happy to have you down here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my friend.
CFL great, 3-time Grey Cup champion Ryan Thelwell here at Grey Eagle Resort and Casino, Calgary's entertainment destination. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.